Opinion! This video has a stupid headline and I'm sorry, but wait, hear me out. Death Stranding has a release date, and come November 8th, we'll finally be able to unpack its many mysteries and maybe actually understand what the hell Hideo Kojima's latest game is about. But as much as I'm dying to play it myself, part of me doesn't really want the rampant speculation to end. Much of the fun of Kojima's games is how much they mess with the player, and even as far back as the first Metal Gear Solid, they've been pushing the boundaries of how we're supposed to interact with them. Between hiding Meryl's codec frequency in plain sight on the back of the game case, to having Psycho Manus read the save files from other games off our memory cards just to mess with our head, Kojima's idea of how we should play a video game was not limited to the simple act of pushing buttons on a controller and making things happen on the screen. Meanwhile, Metal Gear Solid 2's fourth wall obliterating final act posed a number of terrifying questions about the overload of data in the information age and how technology has led to an increasingly shaky definition of reality, or something like that. It was a mindfuck when the game came out, and it's more relevant than ever in the age of deepfakes, machine learning, and information warfare, so it would seem that even back in the dial-up days of 2001, Kojima had a solid grasp of how the internet behaves. As a longtime Metal Gear fan, the most exciting part of Death Stranding is that it's probably not a Metal Gear game. It's a complete mystery. Whatever it is, Kojima's spent the last 3 years dropping a trail of breadcrumbs that certain corners of the internet have been gobbling right up, and in a sense, that's actually part of the game. As Mr. Kojima told IGN back in 2016, quote, "It's one of the unique things about games, that you can start having fun with people before you release the game. There are things I intentionally put there so that I can start this back and forth process with the players because I think it's fun for everyone." Every time a new Death Stranding trailer has dropped, I found myself obsessively digging through fan theories and discussions on forums, usually with about 24 browser tabs open, falling down myriad Wikipedia wormholes, and racking up a list of lesser-known films I should watch for clues, and also because they're probably good if Kojima's a fan of them. The Death Stranding subreddit is great, full of insightful observations, juicy theories, and great discussion. Here's a doozy. The latest trailer from last week dropped on the centennial anniversary of Einstein's theory of relativity being proven. And that could be a coincidence, but considering that Norman Reedus' dog tags in the first Death Stranding trailer had Einstein's equations engraved on them, along with some other quantum physics stuff that I'm not even going to pretend I fully understand, it seems awfully convenient and intentional. Another user on our Death Stranding pointed out that a number of the game's characters could be named after movies. Amelie, Mama, Fragile, and Dead Man are all also names of films that seem to deal with certain themes that we think Death Stranding might be about, but of course, since we don't quite actually know what Death Stranding is really about, that leaves a lot of room for interpretation, which is honestly part of the fun. Here's something we do know. Before Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima was working on a Silent Hill reboot with Guillermo del Toro, which was to star Norman Reedus. The original Silent Hill was heavily influenced by the 1990 Adrian Lyne film Jacob's Ladder, which deals heavily with the idea of purgatory and the afterlife, much like the works of English poet William Blake. You know, the William Blake who wrote the poem at the beginning of the first Death Stranding trailer, not to be confused with the name of the character in the film Dead Man, the movie with the same name as the character in Death Stranding. It's that kind of connections. Do I sound crazy? Probably. Am I having fun wildly drawing these connections between possibly unrelated ideas? Absolutely. Do I have a ridiculous amount of tabs open in my browser right now? Dear God, I have so many tabs open. Meanwhile, the subreddit r/neverbegame_over also has some solid theories on Death Stranding, no pun intended, but a lot of the folks on there are also convinced that this new game is secretly Metal Gear Solid 6. Or 5, or just a Metal Gear continuation, which sadly sounds crazy to me. The man who just read up on Dante's Divine Comedy to see if I'd hid any clues about an upcoming PlayStation 4 game. Then again, Metal Gear Solid 5 was announced as just The Phantom Pain, a brand new IP from the previously unheard of Moby Dick Studio, headed by a mysterious bandaged man named Joachim Mogrim, whose first name happened to be an anagram of Kojima, and whose last name contained the word ogre, which was the working title for Kojima's next game, who panicked in an interview when Jeff Keighley asked him if the Phantom Pain was running on the Fox engine, which Kojima had just recently revealed. It gets weird. I personally don't think Death Stranding is a Metal Gear game, but I have been fooled before. When Sony nonchalantly revealed a free demo for a new horror game called PT, it was available for download during Gamescom 2014 or whenever, I didn't think there would be a trailer for a new Silent Hill game buried at the end of this spooky shifting hallway. Sadly, the departure of Kojima and his colleagues from Konami just seemed a little too real for PT's cancellation to be part of a long-tail ARG promotion for Death Stranding, which is a new game from a different publisher entirely. Kojima's games tend to play with us. When I first played Metal Gear Solid 2 back in 2001, I was expecting to play as Solid Snake the whole time, and that certainly didn't happen. Expectations are funny like that. I expect I will enjoy Death Stranding, and I'm expecting it to do some stuff I don't expect it to, but at the end of the day, I expect it will just be a video game. Probably a really weird, fun, well-made video game given Kojima's track record, but still, just a video game. After I play Death Stranding, I might still have unanswered questions. In fact, I'll probably have more of them, but the game will also become so much more of a known quantity, and after 3 years of daydreaming and theorizing and fantasizing about what it could be, that will undoubtedly be something of a bittersweet letdown. But on the bright side, we can all start speculating about what Kojima's gonna do next, and I can finally close all of these browser tabs about quantum physics and purgatory and Finnish metal bands and Jim Jarmusch movies. He's the guy who directed Dead Man. Did you know when we interviewed Kojima in 2016, he said his favorite movie of the year was Patterson, which was Jim Jarmusch's last movie? Is that a clue? Or is that just a movie that Kojima likes? I don't know. What's your take on Death Stranding? Have you fallen down a conspiracy theory rabbit hole, or are you waiting until after you play the game to do that? Or do you think it's all just complete cockamamie baloney horse? Well, either way, if you're looking for something to hold you over until the game is out, check out my list of movies, shows, comics, and books that may or may not deal with similar themes to Death Stranding. At the absolute very least, they're probably more interesting than hearing me frantically ramble on after drinking too much coffee and looking at too many different websites. For everything else Kojima, keep it right here on IGN.